Well, the municipality of al-Fahm has announced a comprehensive strike in the city following the recent spike of murders in the Arab sector. Well, the municipality, which is located on the northwest border of Israel and the West Bank, says the strike means that businesses, public and private institutions, as long as schools, will be shuttered, with the exception of special education. Now, the move comes after 2 men were murdered in the city within 24 hours, bringing the total number of Arabs killed in the community this year to 102. And joining us now is our correspondent Ariel Levin-Waldman, who's on the ground there in al-Fahm. Ariel, tell me, what is the latest coming out of that city?
Well, Sarah, you can actually look around me and see in real time what that general strike actually looks like. The entirety of al-Fahm's main area is pretty much a ghost town. Every single window, every single door just shuttered. That's about 75% of the businesses have been closed as a form of protest against rising violence in the Israeli Arab community. That was something called by the city council in protest of the double homicide that happened on Tuesday with Amra Abu Jabarin, who was just the latest victim in a series of escalating violence that in many cases is interfamily. It's almost gangs of sorts, but whatever way you look at it, it does not appear to be ending.
And Ariel, tell us about the Arab sector in Israel. We often hear about soaring crime rates in that community. How are people responding?
Well, yeah, that's the secondary issue. You do see a massively increased crime rate in the Arab-Israeli community. We're talking about 20% of the population, but somewhere in the area of 70% of the murders overall. If you just look at the numbers, we saw about 102 of the homicides this year from the Arab-Israeli community. You contrast that to something like 40 homicides in the rest of Israel as a whole. So it's a very significant difference. But that's really layered with a lack of law enforcement in these towns. You have the violent crime rate combined with a lower enforcement rate. If you talk to any of the people in the street that are willing to talk, most of them are too scared to talk to us. But the ones that have spoken to us have said that living out here is like living in the jungle. The strong, the people with weapons, will do whatever they want, and the weak, the people without, suffer whatever they have to. They say that the police don't get involved and they don't do anything to help.
So, Ariel, given that, tell me, what does the government plan on doing? How does it propose fighting this violence?
Well, yeah, you see, that is the next big question. What can be done? And we have heard some suggestions from Israeli officials of what could possibly be done to stem the violence. And one of those suggestions is effectively a declaration of war against gun violence in the Arab community. We're talking about the police have heard the suggestion of not needing warrants to go door to door to raid for illegal weapons. Another one is to start treating it as a national security issue rather than a simple civil or criminal issue. That would allow the Shabak, Israel's internal security service, which usually only deals with issues of terrorism and protection of the prime minister, to directly involve themselves in counter weapons operations. And we saw some discussion of that during the last flare-up, where you saw riots across Arab, Israeli, and mixed cities, where weapons were used in those, and many public officials in Israel said this is no longer criminal, this is national security. If that happens, Shabak has a mandate, and they have a lot more force to bring to bear.